Social Music Talk. Welcome to Social Music Talk. This is Alex Cosper with Sam Kadura, and we talk about the past, present, and future of music.
Love to do that, man. Social Music Talk's a great little show.
Thanks.
Here on WS Radio, one of the best, actually.
We've been doing it all year, and we're going to keep on doing it through next week, and then we're going to take a break and come back in 2020.
Awesome.
But last week we talked with good old friend Rob Endsley from Sacramento.
Dude, that was an awesome little interview. I loved it, man.
Because I worked with him at KWOD, and you worked with me at KWOD before that.
Right.
So I want to kind of back up before Rob joined the station. I think hey, Rob, you out there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Rob, didn't you join KWOD in 91 or 92?
91.
Oh, okay.
Right there after the switch.
Okay,
Right
so the switch was in April of 91. I came back in late June of 91. Do you remember what month you came back or you started there?
I want to say like October, November.
Okay.
I was interning at Live 105.
Okay.
And,
I never knew that. I never knew that.
Oh, yeah.
So you knew everybody
Well,
there, like Richard Sands
Oh, yeah.
and Steve Masters,
Gabby Mendecky.
How cool.
Mark Hamilton,
All those.
Roland
I
West.
was there for a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
I
wow.
wasn't there very long.
So, well, that's cool to know. I mean, we could talk about that on some other show sometime because they're a big part of this show in the sense that I like to explore radio history on this show, including like the 80s, and that was a cool time. You were going to Oak Ridge High and El Dorado Hills.
I first went to Jesuit, and then I was pretty much. My family moved up to El Dorado Hills in 1973.
Hey, Rob, if you don't mind.
And then my parents got divorced, and my dad lived over there by Rio Americano, where you were.
Right.
And my dad was like saying, "There's prostitution and drugs and all this other stuff," and he wanted me to go to Jesuit. It's kind of a funny story.
Right. Well, let's get to that in a minute, but I just want to ask you a question. When you were in high school, what Sam and I were working on the air at KWOD.
Before you continue, what year did you graduate high school, Rob? Just so I have
1986.
Oh, okay.
86. Okay. And see, I had been doing dances at your high school throughout the 80s, probably in 86, 87, 88.
Me too.
Yeah, Sam did with a guy named Mr. Ed who did the night show on KWOD. And so I just wondered, did you go to any of those high school dances?
Oh, yeah. I went to the Winter Ball. I went to prom both years. My girlfriend was a year younger than me, so I actually went to the prom also in 87. But back then, I wasn't really paying attention to who the DJ was. I mean,
I just wonder
19-year-old kid.
I was wondering what was your perception of the top 40 stations in the town at that time, which in Sacramento, which were KWOD and Croy.
I was more, and kind of what got me into radio, Alex, was KFRC, actually.
Okay.
That was still a really popular
Me too, back in the
station,
70s, though. It was late 70s when I listened.
And same here.
I didn't really...
Dr.
I
Don.
listened to Croy a little bit. I guess I was... I was kind of listening to music that you didn't really hear on the radio.
Right, underground, punk, new wave.
But then the era of the Scorpions and Iron Maiden.
Okay,
and,
so you're a metalhead.
Yeah.
And a drummer, too. So were you in a metal band?
Yeah, I was in two kind of prominent metal bands up here. I was in like a thrash metal band, one called Immortality, and then later in a band called Disorder. And the funny thing about that was I kind of liked the music, but I liked the technical aspect of it. I was a really good double bass drummer, and if you listen to that music, it's just all... I take my hi-hat and lock it down, and I just had my feet on the bass drum the whole time.
Wow. Well, we're going to talk about how the eras all changed as KWOD went alternative and modern rock in the 90s. But first, our producer, Sam, he's going to be stepping out for a minute. But do you have any question or comment for Rob?
Actually, did you ever go to clubs like in the 90s? Like Club Sonar or Popeye's place? I asked mainly because
No, I wasn't into
you were in a
any
club.
of that stuff. I was going to concerts, the Cal Expo Amphitheater,
Okay.
and rocking out.
And Alex, did Rob ever play drums on any of the recordings that you?
No, but you played on. I jammed with you once. Remember?
Yeah, when I was playing in kind of like a band like the Cocteau Twins called Carousel, and we were very dream pop, shoegazer.
Oh, cool.
12-string Rickenbackers with all sorts of effects. And I don't think Alex's music is a little more clean, if you will.
Yeah.
We were just kind of like Catherine Wheel and just 12 rack-mounted effects and just sounded like a blur.
Yeah, I remember when you mentioned Cocteau Twins. I think we went to a concert in San Francisco after seeing a 49er game. It was
actually no, that was we went to the Bridge School benefit.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
And I actually have a kind of a funny story about that as well.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do these in order here, like chronological order. Let's start with when you came to KWOD in '91. As you said, you were an intern at Live 105 in San Francisco. And then at the time when you came to KWOD, somewhere in that first year you were there, the whole sales staff quit, and then you took over all the accounts. So tell that story.
Well, yeah, I mean, I worked for my dad for a long period of time, and my dad owned a large commercial heating and air conditioning company, and I know how business kind of ran, saw how hard it was for my dad, especially in that era. And, I mean, I wasn't there at KWOD to really do sales per se. I mean, I was, promotion director, what have you. And one of the things I kind of noticed, Ed Stoll's the owner.
Yeah,
and
the infamous owner.
We had a sales manager there when I was there, and I was doing the promotions, and we had, like, a lot of nightclubs that were on the air, and they always paid with cash. So, like, on Fridays, he would usually have to go to all the clubs, get the money, what have you. And he was like to have a cocktail here and then, especially during the day. And there were many times where he was simply too messed up to drive. And so I was going to a lot of these accounts and picking up checks or dropping off dubs and what have you. And these people are talking to me, and I'm hyping up the station, promoting the station. And we were at the Rage one night. I think we were having a KWOD Christmas party or something like that, the Rage. And that's the first time. Here I come working for KWOD, and that's the first time I ever met Ed Stoll. And, we were just talking, and I kind of talked about my dad's business and how, a radio station's a business just like any other business. And he started asking me questions about the sales manager. And I did kind of feel comfortable telling him, well, your sales manager is an alcoholic. But we got to speaking, and he goes, I've always had these people, or in an Ed Stoll's voice, these people that seem to, he's going on about it. I said, well, it sounds to me, Ed, like you have people that tell you what you want to hear, and you don't have people that tell you maybe what you need to hear. And
that's
he
a
goes,
good
you're
line.
Speaking my language. And so he kind of just had me, there was no salespeople there, and I was already kind of getting indoctrinated by going to these clubs and meeting with the clients, what have you. That kind of slid myself into the sales part of it, too, which, in my career through radio, I started, doing promotions on air. And then, the sales part is where you could actually make the money. And which later, 24 years later, I found myself in radio management, which was good for small or medium market radio stations that I worked at. Bill McCutcheon, who I work for now, says, Rob, you have the unique talent that on air, promotions, marketing, programming, sales, and business. There's not too many people that can wear, it's kind of like a five-tool player in baseball. And KWOD taught me all that. And which, later had me later in life knowing all these things and perfecting my craft. where I am
So to
today.
be clear, KWOD was your first radio experience besides Live 105, right?
Oh yeah, well I can't even count live. I was there for such a short period of time.
Okay.
It doesn't really count, but it was KWOD, you know, and I mean I learned. I was there for 12 years. I mean,
Right, you were there
a lot of
longer than
people
I was, and because by the time I left in November '96, I had been there the longest, 10
Right.
years. You know, actually longer than that, 12 years, and
Yeah.
then you just kept on staying there till 2003 when it sold.
Yeah, I was there right to the bitter end, and I mean, the whole intercom thing towards my latter part of being at KWOD, I think I spent more time in depositions than I was at the radio station.
Right, because I'll just sum up the situation real quick. KWOD's owner, Ed Stolz, apparently, not by his account, but by all other accounts, and he made a deal to sell KWOD to Entercom in, I believe, 97 or 96.
Yeah,
96.
After that.
It was 96 while I was there, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And then he tried to back out of the deal when station valuations began to rise, and then he started saying that Entercom was guilty of racketeering, but the courts have favored Entercom all along, and they awarded the station to Entercom in 2003.
Well, and also, Alex, you know, being in all the depositions, he never sold the station. What
Really?
happened
Explain
was-
that, please.
Okay, I'll tell you exactly what happened. In 97, when radio stations were getting bought and sold like crazy, Live 105 was owned by Entercom.
Right.
And that was the only station that Entercom had in San Francisco. And back then, you wanted to have as many stations as possible. So they needed to get, and they had been hammering at Ed Stolz for years and years to sell KWOD. And because Entercom wanted, because they had, you know, we had been beating 98 Rock.
Mm-hmm.
You can't beat them, let's try to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed kept saying, I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell. And finally they went to him and said, I tell you what if we trade you Live 105 for KWOD? That way, because they were getting out, because they didn't, even though, Live 105 being a major market like San Francisco, KWOD was more valuable to them because they wanted to get out of the San Francisco market and have the bigger monopoly in the Sacramento market. And so they had to put a value so the broker could get their commission. So and and I've seen the contract.
Okay.
You buy a car. You buy a car. How many pages of documentation do you have to fill out to buy a car?
Seems like 200.
Okay, you're talking about it. They valued KWOD at $25 million.
Okay.
Guess how many pages the contract was?
Oh, I have no idea because Ed never talked with me about that, so I
Well,
don't
I've
know.
seen it. It was one page.
Okay, one page. Wow.
And actually 75% of it was blacked out.
Wow.
And so
Like a
at the
CIA
11th hour-
declassified document.
Yeah, so I was there when the proverbial crap hit the fan, and Ed found out that Entercom had sold Live 105 to CBS.
Well, first of all, let me
and
ask
it
you a
was not-
question. Let me ask you a question. I thought, because this is what the industry said from everyone I talked with besides Ed Stolz, that he signed a letter of intent in February 1996 to sell KWOD to Entercom. A letter of intent.
That's it. I've seen. You could talk to all the industry people you want, Alex. I was there. I was in the courtroom.
Social. Music.